A wonderful morning to everyone who has joined today's webinar. From Manage Engine family, we could like to extend a warm welcome to all our customers, partners, and users who are evaluating our solution extensively. Endpoint management and security is one of the main focus areas of Manage Engine. In today's session, we'll be specifically looking into patch management. So let me introduce myself. My name is Sandeep. I'm a product consultant working in Manage Engine for the past 2 years. I'm a session technical support engineer assisting customers in their implementation, consultation, and troubleshooting in case of any challenges. I once again welcome you to all to this Endpoint Central training program. In today's session, we'll be particularly discussing about patch management for remediating the known vulnerabilities and patch management for the distributed workforce. Let us take an overview of today's training. So we are on week 1 of the series 6, which is patch management. So this module comes under the endpoint management and security suite. The recordings of today's training session will be available in the below mentioned websites, and for the registered participants, will be receiving an email of the recorded link as well. You can also participate in our free training series and claim a certificate in completing the series of courses. Management for remediating the known vulnerabilities. Before we proceed with the training, I could like to take you through the agenda for the day. Overview will be provided on what is patch management and its future, followed by the architecture when it comes to Endpoint Central, prioritizing and improving the application, patching of application based on its criticality, vulnerability, and severity. How does Endpoint Central streamlines the OS upgrades by automating the process through the distributed endpoints? The difficulties that has been faced during the deployment of patches for the devices that are currently out of the network, that is roaming users. Explore how Endpoint Central ensures compliance with security frameworks like CIS, that is the Center for Internet Security. And in the last webinar, we have gathered a list of queries that has been raised by the larger audience, which will be discussed which has been collated and will be discussed in depth in today's session. We're going to also have a Q&A session where you can able to raise your queries related to the module or related to the training part. So our chat experts are available to address your query. And one more thing to be noted is we'll be using Endpoint Central server build version 11.3.2428.8 for this presentation, and this application support all web browsers. So what is Endpoint Central? Endpoint Central is a unified endpoint management solution that ensures all your endpoints are secure and enable the users to use them effectively for the business. A popular research analyst called Forrester defines UEM as follows: products that provides a centralized policy engine for managing and securing employee laptops and mobile devices from a single console. What has been defined over here is absolutely correct. Endpoint Central, using Endpoint Central, you can able to handle the device from device provisioning to vulnerability assessment, ensure security and comprehensive data, and support analyticals as well. So using Endpoint Central, you can able to manage the devices right from desktops, point of sale devices, laptops, mobile devices, servers, browsers, all under a single console. So here is the core capabilities of Endpoint Central. First will be the endpoint management, right from the device onboarding, where you can able to pull out the list of applications as well as the hardware that has been installed in your endpoints using the asset management. If you want to deploy the patches, for the critical applications, as well as if you want to do an OS upgrade, this can be achieved by the patch management. If any one of your mission is an issue where if you want to have a screen share, you can able to achieve this using the remote control, and it can also track the device locations as well. When it comes to end user management, you can able to get a clarity about the application performance and usage of each and every application, which will improve the employee's digital experience. Apart from that, the end user can resolve the minor issues like installing the application and installing the patches from the self-service portal, which will reduce the help desk tickets. Also, we provide a security for your endpoints. As an admin, you can able to define what are the applications that need to be installed in your endpoints and what should not be using the application control. You can also have a control on the web browsers You can also monitor them using the browser security, detection of vulnerability, and remediating those vulnerability by deploying the patches can be done using the vulnerability management. Protecting your endpoints from virus as well as the ransomware using the next gen antivirus. Ensures your endpoints meet out the complaints using the complaints management. So here is the core capabilities of Endpoint Central. So when it comes to supported OS, we almost support all three major operating systems, which includes Windows, Mac, and Linux. The primary application will be running on a Windows-based operating system. When it comes to management, where we support the Windows Workstation, Windows Server OS, Mac OS, as well as the Linux OS. If you want to reach our support team, where you can able to use the below mentioned email ID, where they can able to address your queries. Tool is consistently receiving awards from the Gartner Per Insights Customer Choice, and this award has been recognized based on the user feedback, and we have been continuously getting this award from the year 2018 to 2019, 2021, 2022, and now in 2024 as well. As an Endpoint Central user, you might be aware that this patch management is available as one of the module in Endpoint Central. We have this patch management as a dedicated standalone solution as well. This is called as Patch Manager Plus, which will be available both in on-premise as well as the cloud-based solution. So you might have a query when it comes to cloud-based or when it comes to on-premise. Is there any difference when it comes to features? There's no changes in the future. The features are going to be the same. So now we are going to discuss about the actual core of this today's training, that is the patch management for the distributed workforce. Before dealing with those distributed workforce, I could like to explain you with a use case how we can using Endpoint Central, how we can able to deploy the patches for the remotely available missions. Okay. John is one of our customers who is working in an enterprise organization. Okay. Recently, John has identified a vulnerability in one of the application which has been installed in most of the endpoints. Okay. So we are going to help John how to remediate those vulnerability using the Endpoint Central. But before that, we have to understand the John's infrastructure. Some of the missions which is available in the head office, John doesn't need to worry about it because those missions are connected via LAN. He can directly deploy the patches to the respective missions. And he also have some production servers which is running in the head office. And before deploying the patches to the production environment, he cannot just like that deploy the patches to the production environment, where he has to test the patches before deploying to the servers or to the workstation. So we are going to help John how to test and approve the patches. And he also have the branch office available in different location across the globe. So there's not going to be much deal deploying the patches to the branch office as well. So where the branch office endpoints are connected via the MPLS or SD-WAN, but the thing need to be noted down is they are connected via the internet. Okay. So if John deploys a patches, 100 of patches at a time, so there will be some network conjunction. Okay. So we are going to help John how to deploy the patches for the branch users as well. We also have some of the users who is connected via the VPN as well as the roaming users. So deploying the patches for the VPN connected users not going to be a much deal, but during the deployment, the user has to be connected via the VPN. If it's not connected via the VPN, there's not going to be any use in deploying the patches to the respective missions. Also, he has the remote users, where we are going to discuss how to deploy the patches for the remote users as well. So he also has some of the mobile devices which is available in his organization. Patching for mobile devices can be achieved using the mobile device management. Okay. So now we are going to help John to deploy the patches and remediate those vulnerabilities which has been identified in his endpoints. When it comes to distribution workforce, John has to think about two users. Okay, the users who connect via the VPN and reaches out the Endpoint Central server, and the users who are connected via the VPN, via the internet. So we'll be discussing specifically about this use case in the upcoming slides. And before that, I'll be explaining you what is a patch management is. Here is the patch management overview. First, a detection will be done. What are the applicable patches for your endpoints? Then those patches will be downloaded. Before deploying a patch to your workstations or to your servers, a testing is something which is necessary to be done. Okay, so you're going to deploy the newly released patches to a couple of test machines. Once everything goes fine, where this patch is going to be marked as approved, and you can able to deploy the patches to the workstations or to the production environment machines. So this is the overview of the patch management. So in the recent forums, as well as the recent webinars where we have received queries that what type of application has been supported by the Manage Engine. We support all major Windows as well as Mac OS related applications, and which includes the third-party application. We almost support 1,000 plus third-party application where you can able to verify what are the application that has been supported by Manage Engine using the below mentioned article, where we have provided a list of the supported application. In case if any one of the application which is available in your environment, but the same application is not available in our database, where you can able to contact us and we'll be adding those application in our list as well. We are going to do some feasibility tests. Once everything goes fine, where those application is going to be added in our database as well. Also, you might have query what type of patches will be supported by Endpoint Central. We support security only patches and monthly rollups, and security patches only for the Windows operating system like Windows 7 as well as the Windows 8.1. The cumulative updates, feature packs, optional updates has been supported for Windows 10 and 11. .NET framework updates for all Windows 7, 8, and 10, including the servers as well. In case if you have any missions which is running on Windows 7, Windows 8, or Windows Server 2016 or 2012, so those servers are end of life missions. If you have any types of such missions running in your environment, we could be able to support those missions, but we have to take a note on this. If you have an extended support security updates license, if you have available in your environment, where I can able to support those applications, support those operating system as well. Also, we support automatic handling for service stack updates and definition updates. As we mentioned before, we support patching for all the Windows servers, Mac, and Linux server patching as well. So here we are going to explain about the feature pack. So you might all aware that Endpoint Central is supporting the feature pack updates. If you want to upgrade from the existing Windows 10 machine to the Windows 11, where we are supporting the feature pack as well, so this process can be automated. So when it comes to feature pack deployment, and this process can be automated, as I mentioned before. When it comes to support from the Endpoint Central, we support this feature pack from 18 to 13 months based on the Windows 10 application, Windows 10 operating system, which is running in your environment. So we are going to discuss in depth regarding the feature pack in the upcoming slides as well. So here is the full approach that has been recommended by the Microsoft. Okay. So as you all know, every month of the second Tuesday, where Microsoft will use to release a lot of security as well as the non-security patches. But most of our customers will deploy only the security patch, that to the critical ones. Okay. Here in the screenshot, where you can able to see that how Microsoft usually tests those patches. So we recommend our customers to deploy all the applicable patches for your endpoints, which will help you make your endpoints healthy. So now we are going to look into the patch management architecture. So here in the architecture, where I'm going to explain you what are the things which has to be done from your end, this basic setup which has to be done from your end, and from the managing inside, what are the background activities will be performed. So as I mentioned before, the tool is going to work as a server client-based module, where the server application has to be installed in a Windows-based operating system. And when it comes to endpoints, where you have to install the agent in all endpoints you're planning to manage. So once the agent installation has been done, where your agent is going to get connected with the central server, that is the Endpoint Central server, for every 90 minutes to check whether any task has been initiated for them. So this could be the primary setup, which could be applicable for the LAN connected missions. So from manage engine, what are the background works will be done? So we have a crawler team who will be probing the vendor website to verify what are the newly released patch. Okay. So once we get those information, and those patches will be tested in our local environment. Once everything goes fine, the details of the patch like patch ID, checksum value, the URL to download the patches, everything will be uploaded in the central patch repository, which has been hosted from our end, that is to cloud. Okay. Once the update has been done, your central server will be having a synchronization up with our central patch repository at a scheduled time. During this process, all the information which has been uploaded in our central patch repository will be transferred to your Endpoint Central server. Once that has been done, a scan will be initiated to your agents to check what are the applicable patches. Once those informations has been pulled out, your Endpoint Central server will directly contact the vendor website and downloads the patches, and your agent during the deployment process will collect the required patches from your Endpoint Central server, and it will be deployed during the deployment policy what you have created. Okay. So this could be the background process which has been done from the manage engine side. If you take John's use case, okay, so John has a branch office which is available across the in different locations. Okay, so John has to deploy the patches to those missions which is available in the remote location. But in the John's use case, we have mentioned a word that those missions are connected via the internet. Okay, so the communication has been established. There is no issue with the communication to reach out the central server. If you think in the architecture during the deployment policy, your agent will directly connect with your central server, which is available in the head office, and pull out the required patches. So if that could be the scenario, if hundreds of patches has been pulled out, what will happen to your network? There will be a network congestion. To overcome this difficulties, we have a component called distribution server. So this distribution server has to be installed in a Windows-based operating system, and instead of all these agents, your distribution server is going to contact your central server and pull out the required patches, and it's going to be stored in itself. So whenever an agent wants to pull out the patches, it doesn't going to contact the central server. It directly contacts the distribution server and pull out the required patches, and it will be deployed during the deployment policy what you have created. Okay, so this architecture could be applicable for the remote office. So we also have the other scenarios like the users who's connect via the VPN, and the users you will work as a roaming users as well. How to deploy the patches for those missions as well. So this can be achieved a component called secure gateway. This secure gateway has to be installed in a Windows-based operating system. The IP address of this secure gateway has to be NATed within a public FQDN. So whenever an agent wants to communicate with the central server, they will come via the public FQDN and reaches out the secure gateway. This secure gateway will validate all its traffics, and based on that, it's going to make your agents to reach out the central server, where the communication is going to be established, and you can able to deploy the policy. Here, where we don't need any VPN connectivity, the end mission should have an active internet connection, which is the only criteria which need to be satisfied. So if there is a secure gateway, you're going to the agents are going to pull out the secure gateway from the central server. It can be achieved. Okay. If you want to have another scenario where my agent should only contact the secure gateway and should report what are the patches which is needed, but during the deployment, during the downloading of patches, my agent should directly contact the vendor website and downloads the patches. Can be this achieved? Yes, this can be achieved. So we have to do some basic settings in your Endpoint Central console, where you have to enable some of the options. Once you enable those options, where you can able to navigate your agents to directly communicate via the vendor website and downloads the patches. Okay, so this is about the patch management architecture. So during the distributed workforce, where we might have faced some of the challenges, like we cannot able to determine the end user bandwidth, and you have to in prior, you have to schedule the patch. You have to notify the end user when this patching is going to be applied. Since during that time only the user can connect via the VPN. Okay, if the user is going to connect via the VPN, if there is no secure gateway concept over here, and there should be a flexible reboot policy in case if there is any issue related to the deployment. During the deployment, if there is any issue, how to handle those kind of scenarios. So we'll be discussing the challenges in upcoming slides. Now, patch management for strategic for the patch management. The first will be the prioritizing patching for test and approve for the critical patches. So as I mentioned in the John's use case, before deploying each and every patch, where you have to install the patches in the couple of test machines, and once everything goes fine, where those patches will be marked and it can be moved to the production environment. Now I'm going to show you how to create a test and approve method. Before that, we are going to create a filter to find out what are the critical patches for your environment. Kindly navigate to this Endpoint Central console, threats and patches module. So go to the patches module. Here in the missing patch, you can create a filter. The column of the filter should be as severity, and the criteria should be equal. And you're going to select the severity of the patch, like critical or important. Based on your requirement, you can able to choose that. But in our use case, you are going to choose the critical patches. So once you create this filter, once your mark is applied, where you can able to identify what are the critical patches for your endpoints. Okay. So let me show you how to create a configuration, the test and approve configuration. So to deploy the patches before they move to the production environment. Go to the deployment tab. There will be an option called test and approve. So before creating this test and approve, I want to show you some of the criteria which need to be added in this test and approve configuration. The first one should be, you have to create a custom group, that is test group, and you have to customize the deployment policy that the end user should know about that the patching is going to be done, and the status of the patch. What is the status of the patch, whether it's been completed or in progress. We have to notify the end user and create an approval process for all the tested patches. Okay, so how long these patches need to be tested in the test machines, and once everything goes by, when these patches to be marked as approved. So let me take you to the console part. First, you have to create a custom group. Custom group is nothing but, in your environment, you might have different departments available, like marketing, IT department, or if you have an admin department, you might have different departments available in your organization. So for each and every department, you're going to create a custom group. So which will be easy for you to associate with an automate deployment policy. So once the agent has been installed, where those agents will be available, so you can able to drag and drop the missions which need to become under that particular departments. For our use case, we are going to create it, and we are going to select the category. So there are three different types of categories. That is, one is the static, unique, and dynamic. So what is static? Static is nothing but if you add one pieces, okay, so this pieces can be available in different departments, different groups, okay. But when you choose to go with the static unique, this particular mission, any of the particular mission which is added in the particular static unique group, it's no longer going to be available in any of the group, where you cannot able to duplicate it. And we also have the dynamic custom group. So dynamic custom group is going to work based on the criteria. So in case we have different criteria available, like operating system, service pack, OS version, OS type. For example, the quorum is operating system, and the criteria is equal to Windows 10. Okay. So once you create this group, the machines which comes under the Windows 10 operating system will automatically fall under this particular dynamic custom group. But we recommend not during the test and approve method for this configuration, where we don't recommend to go with the dynamic custom group. So you can better to go with the static ones. So you're going to select the mission. You're just going to drag and drop here and create a group. So once the group has been created over here, you're going to associate with the configuration. Since we are going to test the critical updates of Office 365, we are going to select as security and only the critical ones. That too, we are going to specifically mention the application. Okay. Here are three different options available: patch all application, patch specific application, patch all application except. Okay. So if you want to deploy, if you want to test only for an individual application, application you want to deploy the patches, we can able to mention that. So here in our use case, we are going to only test the patches for the critical patches for Office 365. Since Office 365 comes under the Microsoft-based application, we are going to choose the updates in the Microsoft. And then, if you want, you can if you want to test the patches for the third-party application, whatever you installed in your endpoints, you can also do that as well. You can choose the severity as you wish. But in our use case, where you're not going to deal with that, so you're going to just postpone. And here you're going to choose the deployment criteria. Okay. So once the vendor releases a patch, okay, so does this patch should be immediately pushed to the deployment task, or it has to be taken 2 to 3 days. Okay. Where some of the customers where they don't deploy the patches immediately once the vendor release, they'll take a couple of days, like 2 days or 3. Some of them used to take a week as well. So you're going to mention the number of days. In our use case, we are going to go with the 0 day. And here is the deployment policy. So this deployment policy is one of the key feature and one of the important options. Okay, where here you're going to define, okay, when the patches has to be installed in your endpoints and which day, which time, what are the pre-deployment activities, post-deployment activities, everything going to be defined in the deployment policy. We have some predefined policies, but we are going to create our own policy. Okay. It's a very simple steps for this deployment policy. It's going to be a very simple 4-step process. The first could be deployment schedule. So when this patch has to be installed in your endpoints, okay, there are 2 types of split ups. One is the regular split, and one is the based on patch Tuesday. So if you're going to with a regular split up, you can choose the which week, okay, which week of the month the patch need to be deployed. And you can go in that particular week, which day the patches need to be installed. You're going to specify the days and the time frame. Like if you want to deploy the patches for morning 6 to 9, okay, or evening 9 to 12. Okay, since it's we are going to deploy the patches for the test environment, you can go with the 24 hours, or you can have your own specific time limit. Okay, and once that has been done, the next could be the pre-deployment activities. Like during the deployment, if a mission is in the sleep mode, where I can have a pre-deployment activity that is wake on LAN, and in the last patching activity, if the reboot does not happen, you can go with the pre-deployment reboot. So in our use case, where these kind of pre-deployment activities no longer needed, so we are just going to skip this option. And the next is we have mentioned that the user should know about the deployment. Okay, so you're going to notify this option. You're going to enable this option. Okay, where a prompt is going to be shown in the end user side, so that the patching is going to be has been initiated to your end machine, and you can have your own customized message which need to be prompted in the end user side. Also, we also mentioned that the deployment progress should be shown in the client missions. So what is the status of the patch? You have enabled the following option. You're going to give it as save and continue. Once the deployment policy has been created, where you're going to associate the policy in the configuration task, and then if you want to notify the status of the patch, whether the approval, whenever the patch is approved, or any deployment is failed during the patch deployment is failed, if you want to know such kind of notification should be sent you through the email, where you can also do that by enabling this option. So once you enable the notification, where you have to provide the email address, the status of the patch, whether if it's approved or any deployment failure, everything will be sent you through the email as well. And here in this option, you're going to enable this. How long these patches need to be tested out? For example, 1 day or 2 days or 3 days or 4 days or 5 days. It totally depends on your environment based on your patching cycle. So for example, if you take 5 days, so the patch is going to be installed, okay, based on the deployment policy what you have created. And from the deployment, from the day one, it's going to examine for the 5 consecutive days. If there is no issues with that particular patch, where the patch is going to be marked as an approved, and the approved patches where you can able to deploy to the production environment. So this is about, this is the steps to be followed for creating of the test and approve method. So we'll now go to the presentation. As I mentioned before, we also support the feature update. Okay, so where Endpoint Central supports the feature updates. If you want to upgrade from the Windows 10 to the Windows 11, where you can able to achieve this, and this process can be automated. So let me show you what are the steps need to be followed for the feature pack deployment. So kindly go to the same, the patches. So when it comes to feature pack deployment, where initially you have to upload the ISO file. Okay, since you cannot just like that, so the tool doesn't download the ISO file from your end, since it's an ISO where you should have a proper license, and from the portal, which is the admin center portal, you can able to download the ISO file. And where does this ISO file to be uploaded when it comes to console? So go to the download patches view, uploaded patches, all patches. You're going to search for a patch ID, that is 11894. So here you can able to choose the patch ID, and you can able to upload the dependency patch. So you have to upload the ISO file. Since we don't have the ISO file, I'm just showing you how to what are the steps need to be followed. You're going to browse your browser and upload the ISO file. And once the ISO file has been uploaded, where you have to deploy the dependency patch. So for the dependency patch, you can go to the supported patches view. You have to search for a patch ID called 111896. Here's the feature pack deployment. We're just going to select the patch, give it as install patches, which will be redirecting to the manual deployment page. So the patch which is going to be deployed to your endpoints, the details of the patch like patch ID, the patch description, as well as whether a reboot is required or not for after the deployment of this patch, everything will be automatically populated. And the dependency patch which need to be where the ISO file need to be uploaded, all these informations will be uploaded. And you're just going to choose the deployment policy. So if you want to schedule it during the non-business hours, if you want to do the feature pack update, you can create a deployment task based on that. And if you want to do an on-demand scenario, you can choose the option called deploy at any time the earliest. So once you choose the deployment policy, you're going to target the mission to which missions this feature pack update should be done. Okay, once that has been done, you're going to give it as a deploy immediately or deploy. So when it comes to deploy, where it's going to take 90 minutes to reflect on this mission, and after 90 minutes only the upgrade is going to be initiated. When you choose to go with the deploy immediately, once you create this configuration in next fraction of seconds, where this feature pack deployment is going to be initiated to your endpoints. So one more thing to be noted, like we have discussed about the test and approve method and the feature pack updates. And if you take John's use case, okay, so if the user is connected via the VPN, okay, it doesn't want the end user where there's no John doesn't have a secure gateway. Okay, so during the deployment, or if John has a secure gateway, so any of this scenario we can choose. Okay, before that he has to verify whether during the deployment policy whether the mission is available for the task or not. Okay, so how to pull out those kind of information? So when is the log on time, when is the log off time? So how to pull off this issue, this kind of reports? So this can be these reports can be pulled out in the Endpoint Central reports tab. So kindly navigate to the reports tab. There will be an option called power management reports. Here you can able to get the information. So what is the total uptime, what is the total downtime, and what is the log on time, log off time, everything will be, you can able to pull out all this information. Based on getting this information, where you can able to schedule the process, the deployment process, when these patches to be deployed to the end missions as well. So now we are going to deploy the patches for the roaming users. Okay. Since I mentioned that roaming users, there are two scenarios. There are two types of settings can be achieved. We can able to deploy the patches for the roaming users. One is using the secure gateway, and other one is enabling users to download the patches directly from the vendor website. So first, I'm going to show you how to create a secure gateway configuration. So kindly navigate to the console, go to the admin tab. Here you'll be having an option called NAT settings. Okay. So you have to provide some information like the public FQDN, which has to be NATed with the IP address of the secure gateway and the central server IP address. Once this information has been provided, where you can able to see the diagram, the endpoints will come via the public FQDN and reaches out the secure gateway. This secure gateway is going to validate the traffic, whether this is trusted ones or not. Once it is trusted, it's going to be allowed to reach out the central server. Okay, so this is how the secure gateway concept is going to work. And what are the things that need to be provided for the secure gateway deployment? So you're going to install this component in a Windows-based operating system, as I mentioned before, and you have to allow some ports, like the ports like 8031, 8033, 8035, 83, and 3. So once this port has been allowed in your firewall, where the agents can reach out the secure gateway and the workflow, what has been explained, what's going to be happening. Okay, this is the one of the scenario. So once the secure gateway has been enabled, where the users they don't need any VPN connectivity, they should have an active internet connection where the agents can automatically communicate via the secure gateway. And the next scenario could be the patching for work from home missions using the direct download. So using the secure gateway or through the VPN connectivity, the user can directly report to the Endpoint Central server. Okay. During the deployment, where, as I mentioned in the initial slides, if you want to directly download the patches from the vendor website, this can be achieved. As I mentioned before, this can be achieved, but there are some prerequisites which need to be satisfied. The Endpoint Central version should be the latest ones, and you have to enable the direct download option in the Endpoint Central console. Okay, so let me show you how to enable this option. Go to the console part, patches, deployment, disable automatic updates. In the bottom of the screen, you can able to see an option called enable agent to directly download from the vendor website. So you can able to see this. So you can able to create this as a configuration where some of the registry changes going to be happening in your animation, and you can able to deploy this configuration by selecting the domains or the remote office. Once that has been done, where you can able to initiate the configuration to the respective missions. Once that has been done, in the next deployment, next configuration, where the end user during the patch deployment, the agent will directly contact the vendor website and downloads the patches, and it will be deployed based on the schedule what you have created. Okay, so this is the method which has to be followed for enabling the direct download. So now we are going to create a set of policies where we are going to create an automate patch deployment task for the work from users. And we have to, where the below mentioned criteria need to be matched up, like allow users to skip the deployment, user schedule reboot policy, end user applies the patches. Okay, so let me take you to the console how to create an automate patch deployment task for the work from home users. So go to the patches module, deployment, automate patch deployment, create an automate task. So the same as test and approve, we are going to select what type of updates, like if you want to go with the security or a non-security updates, you can choose either of that. And the third-party updates, which is available in your endpoints, and the antivirus and the driver updates. you're going to choose the deployment policy. Okay. So when it comes to the deployment policy, since I've mentioned the criteria like allowing user to skip the deployment, user schedule reboot policy. So we have to create a separate deployment policy for the work from home users. So you can, the first is deployment schedule, like a regular split in a week, which month, which week, and the days based on patch Tuesday, you can able to choose. And the pre-deployment activities and pre-deployment notification. So where you're going to enable this option, where the end user is going to be prompt the status of the deployment. Also, you're giving the privilege to the end user to skip the deployment as well. Okay. A prompt will be shown, and in that prompt, there will be two options. One is skip the deployment and one to start the deployment. The user can select based on their requirement. They can able to choose whether to start the deployment or skip the deployment. And once the patch has been installed, if the user has selected start the deployment, the patch has been installed to the respective machine, and that particular patch requires a reboot. So when this reboot has to be happen. So in our use case, where the reboot should be happen based on the user defined policy. So for that, you can choose to go with the delay reboot, and you can have an option called user defines. So the user can reboot the machine based on their needs, okay? Where they can choose the date and time during that date and the time where they can able to reboot the machine as well. So once this has been done, once you create a deployment policy, where you're going to associate the policy over here as well. And you're going to select the defining the targets to which machines the patches need to be installed, and you can also have the notification. So when it comes to notification, each and every time you don't need to log in the console and verify whether the patch has been installed or is there any failure or not. Once the mail configuration has been done, where the status of the patch will be sent to you through as a report to the mail as well. We also have one more criteria which need to be satisfied, that end user applies the patch. Okay. So how this can be achieved? For example, if you take the work from home users or any hospital, okay, so where they might have some machines which is running 24/7, so they don't have any defined timeline that particular the mission will be where the end user doesn't use the machine. Okay, so they can able to deploy the patches as per their wish during, if there is no patients or there is no users available, they can able to install the patches as per their requirement. How this can be achieved? So in the deployment policy, you can able to see an option called deployment, where you're just going to select the deployment option. We also have another option called publish to self-storage portal. So what are the patches missing for that particular machine will be published in a self-storage portal. So whenever the user is free, okay, there is no work with the end machine, they can able to where those published patches will be available in the portal. They can able to install, download, and install the required patches as per their requirement. So here is this sample screenshots. So we have created a deployment policy, right? So when it comes to end user side, how does the prompt going to be look like? Like you can able to see, I'm going to enlarge the screen. So the user can restart now, or they can able to postpone it based on the time limit, like 15 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours, 6 hours. And the user defined policy. So when, during which day and which time the patches need to be, so the restart has to be done. And we are going to have another scenario, like we are going to deploy the create a deployment policy for server machine as well. So if you take John's use case, where John has some of the servers, production environment servers available, so he can able to, so the patching has been tested out. Okay, there is no issue with the patch, so he has to deploy the approved patches to the production environment. So when it can be done, so you cannot deploy the patches during the business hours. He can able to specify a time limit, like if he wants to deploy the patches during evening 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. So we are going to schedule based on that, and wake up and deploy and post reboot. But the reboot should not happen for the servers. So it's the same deployment policy. create a policy. You're going to choose the regular split, first, Tuesday, second, or the days, and the time frame. Since it's a 9 evening, 6 o'clock, where it's going to be a 24 hours format. And pre-deployment activities. So as I mentioned before in the previous use cases, where the machines can have a wake on LAN, if the machine's in the sleep mode, you can choose that as well. And user notification and post-deployment activities. So the patches has been installed, okay, where the reboot should not happen, okay, in the server machines. How to exclude the reboot for the server machines alone. So here you can able to see an option called exclude reboot for servers. Okay. So once you enable this option, either it can be in a forced reboot or it can be in a delay reboot, either of that where the servers is going to be excluded. So based on the downtime, okay, you can able to reboot the machine as per the wish. Also, we recommend the customers when it comes to server machines, we recommend you to go with the manual reboot process. So this is the forced reboot prompt. Okay, in case if a patch has been in the previous slides, you can able to see use cases. You can able to see that if the user has keep on skipping the patch reboot. So when does the how does the forced reboot prompt is going to appear? And you can able to define a timeline. So for example, if the user is skipping the reboot for consecutively for 2 hours, okay, where the forced reboot option should be enabled. So you can have able to have this option. And in case if in the deployment policy, if you choose to go with the forced reboot option, okay. So when it comes to forced reboot, I have two different types of reboot. One is the within the deployment window, that is between the deployment schedule, the time frame. The patch is going to be installed, and then immediately a reboot is going to done. Or if you want a specific reboot time. So, and you can able to see in the this server use case where the reboot is going to happen. Sorry, the patching is going to happen on Saturday or the Sunday. Okay, but if you want to reboot the machine on Saturdays, okay, you can able to specify the day and the time frame only during that particular specific day and the time format where the reboot is going to be appear. And so once you create this configuration, once you create this deployment policy, we are going to associate it. And during that particular reboot time, where the prompt is going to be appeared like this, the post reboot prompt. So the notification timer is going to be initiator. So if there is no work for the end user, the server is free, where they can able to directly select the option called restart now, which immediately going to restart the mission. Or they have some works, they want to wait till the notification timeout is going to be ended. Once the notification timeout is ended, where the mission is going to be forcefully get restarted. Also, using the Endpoint Central, you can able to verify whether machines are compliant or not. So generally, we follow GCI's compliance, that is the Center for Internet Security. So this is the complaint which has been followed in Endpoint Central. So first, we are going to create an audit policy, okay, where we are going to create an audit policy. And once the policy has been created, we're going to initiate a scan for your endpoints. So once the scan has been initiated, and from the result of the scan, you can able to identify what are the missions that are non-compliant. If a mission is not compliant, to how to remediate those, what are the changes to be done to make this mission as compliant, we can be able to achieve this through Endpoint Central. So let me take you to the console and show you how to create an audit policy. The same threats and patches module, you can able to see an option called compliance module. Okay. So the first, we have some built-in templates available based on the operating system. In case if you want to apply this benchmarks to these profiles to a Linux-based operating system or Windows-based operating system, Windows workstation. So we have for each and every operating system, we have a separate profiles are available. We have the L1 as well as the L2 profiles. You can able to choose based on that. What is your requirement? Based on that, you can able to choose the profiles. So let me choose. So I'm going to deploy this audit policy for Windows workstations. Okay, the Windows 10 workstation, and I'm going to add this particular policy to a policy group. So you're going to choose what type of policy, what type of benchmarks need to be applied to your end mission, and a scan should be initiated. So you can able to choose as per your wish. Once that has been done, you're going to create a group. Once the group has been created, you're going to associate within a audit policy. So you're going to choose the custom group, like to the couple of missions which these policies need to be applied. You're going to choose like the custom group and the policy group as well, based on the custom group what you have chosen, and how frequently the scans should be initiated, whether once in a day or a specific day or a weekly or a monthly. So once you specify the day when this has to be initiated, you're going to deliver the start time, and you can create an audit policy. A scan will be initiated. From the result of the scan, you can able to identify what are the missions that are non-compliant and what are the missions that are compliant. So when a mission is not compliant, so what are the steps that need to be followed to resolve those issues? So we'll be providing the fix as well. So the summary of that particular benchmark and how to fix this can be achieved. So where you have to do some manual work, which cannot be achieved through Endpoint Central product. So you have to do some register changes, or if there are any changes need to be done, which has to be done manually. So once you remediate those misconfigurations, and then if you initiate a compliance policy, you can able to get what are the missions still is where the car is not a non-compliant and which are the compliant. So based on this, which will be helpful for you for the self-auditing, and you can able to validate how whether your missions are up to date or not. Now, patch management as at a glance. So we have in the previous slides where we have discussed about the what is patch management, how to create a test and approve configuration, how to create an automate patch deployment task, deployment policy. So what are the things can be achieved using this patch management module? So where we don't need an AWS required for this patch management, everything is going to be managed in the single console itself. Either it can be in a server operating system or workstations, either of that. We provide patches for all the operating systems and cross-platform support, as well as the third-party applications. Not only for the Microsoft-based application, we also provide the patches for the third-party application. So before you're deploying the patches, where you can able to test the patches to a couple of missions, which can be automated, and everything goes fine, those patches will be marked. And once the patches which has been marked as approved, can be pushed to the automate patch deployment task. Either of that, the operating system can be, you can able to automate the process. There is no need of any manual intervention. The process is going to be happen automatically, and will be providing you the status. And if there is an issue, it's going to be sent to you as a mail. So this process can be automated. And the flexible deployment policies. So based on your patching cycle, you can able to create your own deployment policy, when which date, which day, and what are the pre-deployment, post-deployment activities need to be performed. Everything can be automated. In case if a Microsoft has mentioned that particular patch which is need to be is creating a problem, but you don't want those patches or to be allowed in your environment, you can able to decline the patches. Or if a specific application is no longer going to need to be get patched in the future, like Google Chrome or Java, you don't want those applications to be updated, you can able to add those application in the decline list as well. Also, you can create a filters as per your wish. If you want a specific filter option, like if you want to come to know about the critical patches for your environments, or when does the patch release, on which day the patch has been released. If you want to create a specific filter, if you want to make those filters as a report, where I can able to uh, achieve through the patch management product. So now we are going to have the frequently asked questions. So as I mentioned before, in the last webinar, where a couple of questions, repeatedly a couple of questions which has been raised. So we have collected all the queries, all the questions, and we are going to discuss in detail in today's session right now. The first question will be, if you have an automatic update schedule for 100 computers, and I choose to have it a pre-downloaded patches during the refresh cycle, could all the systems still execute the updates in order, or could all systems update at the same time since it should already be downloaded? So when it comes to this use case where you're going to deploy it could be suggestible if you download the patches in prior, okay? Since where you can able to download the patches in prior, which will be helpful for us. So where during the deployment, we are going to only focus on the deployment process, where during that time, if the agent is trying to contact the where try to contact the patch manager plus server and downloads the patches, where it's going to waste of time. So where you can go with the pre-deployment download of patches. Also, local office permissions are now at work from home. How do I make the contact Endpoint Central? So as I mentioned before, this can be achieved through Secure Gateway Server. So do I need to disable the WSES if I use Windows patches and updates on Endpoint Central? So you can able to disable the WSES, since the WSES only gives you out the Windows-based patches. So once you come with the Endpoint Central, where you can able to patch all the formats, like either it can be a third party or a OS upgrades, or either of that, any of the operating system patches can be deployed to Endpoint Central. So when I exclude or decline a patch, is this removed from the patch management dashboard page? Yes. So once you decline a patch, where it will be removed from the missing patches view. So there are two types of declining. One is the selective exclusion, and the one is the permanent exclusion. So when it comes to the selective exclusion, so during the configuration, you can able to remove the application from getting patched up, okay, during the configuration. A permanent exclusion is nothing but you can directly move to the declined patches, add that particular application or that particular patch in the declined list. So those patches no longer going to be shown as a missing patches for your endpoints. While deploying the patches, I came across below errors, multiple clients, how to fix this fix. So the deploying of patches, the Office patches, there might be different use case, like where the patches could not able to download from the vendor website, or the patches may be in running state where you cannot able to deploy the patches during the installation. So you can able to reach out support team, where they will be helping you how to resolve those kind of issues. So how soon are the patches available to me after being released by the Microsoft? When it comes to security updates, we release the patches within 12 hours. When it comes to the remaining updates, will be available within 24 hours. Okay, so how are failed patches handled and test and approved? So for this scenario only, we have this test and approve to handle the failing scenarios. So during the deployment, if there is any issues, if there any failure happens, where we'll be providing a remarks, a supported KB article will be provided, where you can able to verify the KB article and you can able to resolve the issue. Or if you want our support team to be handled out, you can reach our support team, where they will be help you to resolve the issue as well. So when a device is onboarded, is there any option to automatically get deployed with the latest patches? Yes, this can be achieved using the automate patch deployment task. So once you add the machine in the custom group, so that particular custom group will be associated with the automate deployment task. So once the machine has been onboarded, immediately scanning will be initiated, and you can able to identify what are the missing patches for your endpoints, and you can able to deploy the latest ones as well. I have developers in my organization who keep testing application on endpoints. How can I provide them the privileges to install updates on their own. So this can be achieved where you can, in the previous slide with an use case where I mentioned that if a mission is running 24/7, where I don't have a downtime or they don't have any specific time to deploy the patches, where I cannot able to automate that scenario. So for this scenario, where you can able to use this self-service portal. So the patches required for that particular missions will be available, and you can able to download and install the patch as per their wish. Okay, so these are the frequently asked questions which has been where we have discussed right now. And the next will be the Q&A session. Okay, so in case if you have any queries related to the module or related to the training series, we can raise your concern with our chat experts, where they will be happy in assisting you the same. We have received multiple queries from where we are going to address some of the major queries which has been raised to our chat experts. So whether the patch uninstallation is supported or not, if any of the patch which is creating any issues, whether those patches can be uninstalled or not. Yes, we can do that. So how this can be achieved? So when it comes to, if you go to the console tab, where we have an option called patches, install the patches. Okay. If any one of the patch which is creating any issues, okay, you can check this the patch uninstallation status. If it's supported, where you can able to select the patch and you can give it as uninstall patches. So those patches will be removed, which will be redirecting to the manual deployment, and those to which missions the patch is going to be removed. Everything will be automatically get populated, and they're going to deploy it. The concerned patch is going to be removed from the respective missions. So when it comes to uninstallation, it's only going to work on the vendor side. Okay, if the vendor supports for the uninstallation, where you can able to retrieve the patches from the respective missions. Also, if you we also have another query that so when can we see the status of the patch, whether after the patch has been installed, when can we see the status, whether that particular patch required a reboot or not? Yes, we can see that as well. So in the same missing patches or in the install patches view, we can able to see an option called reboot. Reboot, there are two types of reboot status. That is, one is not required and other could be the required. If a patch is required a reboot, where will be showing as another required. So where once the patch has been deployed to the respective mission, it's going to be get restarted. If a patch is not going, if the patch doesn't require any reboot, where it's going to show us a not required. So these are the major queries which has been raised to our chat panel. And the next is we are going to rate is where you can able to rate us on the scale of 1 to 5, where the 5 will be the best. And you can able to spread the word about this webinar through the different platforms which is available over here. And the next training schedule, which is going to happen on the next week, that is Jan 28 and 29, for the training topic called Secure Endpoints from Unknown Vulnerabilities. So where our experts will be available to help you out to remediate the vulnerabilities which is presented in your environment. And you can also have a personalized demo. Okay. So in case if we want to know each and every option, what is the option available in the patch management console, and how those patch management is going to work for your environment, you can have schedule a personalized demo. You can reach out our chat team to schedule the demo as per your availability. Thank you everyone who has joined today's webinar.